I am a little sucked in. I'm not going to lie to you. Aaron Rodgers threw 3 touchdowns. Wilson had the sickest catch I've ever seen, 2 touchdowns. And we'll get to the comparison with Odell in a bit. They had 8 sacks. And I went to the standings right when the Jets took the lead for the first time. And I'm like, all right, if they win this game, where are the Jets going to be? And at that point, looking at 2-6, they were 15th, only ahead of the Tennessee Titans, who they beat, in week 2. With the win, they jumped up to 10. Now, it's a very muddled AFC. Who the hell knows what happens? But if the Jets go 8-0, which they won't, please, they won't. But if they did, they're 11-6. If they go 7-1 the rest of the way, they're 10-7.
Right.
I'm not really banking on that. If they go 6-2, and this is where they got a shot. I'm going to latch on to this, and I'm going to lean into this. If they go 6-2, they're 9-8. They're at Arizona, then they host the Colts, then they got a bye, then they got Seattle at home. Are you telling me, I'm saying I bet a ton of money on this, I think all of those games, they will be favored. Maybe a -1 out in Arizona, but the Cardinals, the Colts, the bye, Seattle. You can't win 3 games there?
Well, remember, you and I did this a week ago, after the Patriot game, but before this game on Thursday. We might have done it earlier in the week. If not, yeah, I guess we did do it earlier in the week.
We did it a few times with this team.
We've done it a few times. But before, to me, it was after the Patriots lost, because that's when everybody thought that they were done.
Yep.
Before this game on Thursday night, we were looking at it, and I'm saying, all right, well, you can make a case that they could go 7-2. So then the question becomes, would 9 be enough to get in? And now you're basically saying the same thing. Like, all right, they got the Texans win, which they had to get, but look at the rest of their schedule. Here's why I'm not going to get sucked in. While I don't think it's a ridiculous thought.
Yep.
And while I think that they actually would have an advantage over the Mets because the Jets were built to be good. The Mets were not built to be a great team, and they went 11 games under. It's mid-May, whatever it may be. They go and become the best team in baseball. They weren't supposed to be that. The Jets were supposed to be one of the best teams in football on paper going in. So there's legit belief in that. The quarterback, obviously, belief in that. The emergence now with Garrett Wilson, Devontae Adams here. The defense played better last night. Yeah, I mean, Sauce still sucked.
No, Sauce had a rough night again. Anyway, go ahead.
Pieces are there.
Yep.
And more than that, the schedule is favorable. But I can't get sucked in because I can't ignore all the bad. I don't believe in the head coach. I refuse to even call him a head coach. All due respect to Ulbrich, like he's a coordinator that's trying to coach this team. They're a sloppy freaking mess, and it's one thing after another. I hope that they get it turned around. I think it'd be great for you. It'd be good for us.
It'd be good for the show, sure.
Yeah, okay. So I hope that that's the case.
Yeah.
I want to actually have, the main thing I text you is brutal to watch football games that don't matter. Not only does the quality of play suck, the game doesn't matter necessarily.
Yep.
But now maybe they start to matter a little bit. At 3-6, you have hope. They could beat Arizona. They could beat the Colts. They could beat the Seahawks. They could beat Miami twice with the way that they go. There is a path. I just don't believe it, BT, because I've seen too much bad from this team. Drops, the penalties, the defense in a big spot. I just can't go there.
The kicking, and thankfully Zerline is gone. Listen, I understand that you look at this Texans team, and the record is really good. Before last night, they're 6-2, and the spread was that for a reason. They're trying to suck you in. That was really the thought. But you really did look at I did. I looked at the Texans. I'm like, all right, their top 2 wide receivers are out. You look at some of you do a little bit of a dive in terms of stats. The Texans have, going into last night, and then obviously only compounded, gave up the most sacks in the NFL through 8 weeks. They were tied for first in most pressures. Like, I'm not sitting here saying that they just beat, the Chiefs or, a top team or even the Buffalo Bills up in Buffalo. But the numbers are the numbers, and paths are unconventional, and it's not always linear. And I'm going to lean into it. And you know what? I get it. At the end of the day, I'll probably be burned. But I said last night doing the podcast, if you can't enjoy a win, like honestly, if you can't enjoy a win, and I don't mean the kind of win where like last year, the Patriots game. I didn't want to win that game. I told you that.
Yes.
And they did. And it affected draft status. Oh, yay. The Jets, they ended the losing streak against the Pats. I feel so amazing. Yay. Well, it impacted who they drafted and what they could do at that point. And I thought it was bigger picture better for the Jets to lose. I don't mean at the end of December. I'm talking about, yesterday was still October, when you have a chance to bag a win and you have enough talent, at least to conjure up an ounce of hope that this thing can turn around, I'm going to do it. And I did it last night, not in the first half. But as the game progressed and I saw Adams and Rodgers, that synergy started to click a little bit. I saw Garrett Wilson. There were points last night. Garrett Wilson, I know he's not, but he looked like the best receiver in football. 2 one-handed touchdown receptions, and then you see the defense flying around. I get it, Sauce got knocked over. Sauce has problems here. He's not played well. But, but the pass rush was there. And then you look at the schedule and the circumstances. Yeah, there's a lot of reasons, whether it's the coach, the hole they dug for themselves, Rodgers' age, the O-line, can't stop the run. I get it. I understand who they're not. But they're not dead. I also understand that. And they got a fighting chance, and I'm here for it. Let's go.
And now I'm going to feed you a little bit more here.
All right, let's go.
Not only are they not dead, you mentioned it when you say you look at the standings and you look around the teams.
Shall we say unkillable?
Oh, wow. Yeah, right. Maybe unkillable. But you mentioned it, and you're like, the Texans, whatever, and they can be banged up. Yeah, but the Texans were supposed to be and are, by record, one of the better teams in the AFC. Like, if I'm looking around at this, obviously the Chiefs are on another level than anybody else. But that's just one team. And in one game in the postseason, anything could happen. Not likely, of course, but anything could happen. So anybody beyond that, like the Broncos, Chargers, and I still believe those teams are better coached and more fundamentally sound, but the Jets are more talented than both those teams. And with Aaron Rodgers and the weapons now that he has, if they can start to click, which is possible with their defense, I would say that they'd be favored over anybody in the West outside of Kansas City. You look at the South, they just took care of the best team that the South has to offer in the Texans. And even if they get a little bit better, they're still not. It's not like if I'm the Jets right now, I wouldn't fear them, let alone the Jets starting to steamroll here a little bit over the next few weeks. Look at the North. Okay, I'm going to say Baltimore. Definitively, I would say Baltimore.
Ravens are just absolutely better.
Definitively,
the way they run the ball, they run it down the Jets' throat.
Definitively better than the Jets. Yep. But now we've gotten 2 teams, Chiefs, Ravens. Steelers, all right, they're better because they're better coached, but I don't know if I'm going to say definitively better than, like, let's say down the road they met in the postseason. What, you're telling me the Jets
could beat them?
Okay. And then in the East, you got one team. It's the Bills. So really overall, now, again, I'm not saying the Jets are the 4th best team in the AFC. Please don't get me wrong. What I'm saying
But they were supposed to be in that neighborhood.
And what I'm saying is I think you can make a legitimate argument that if they do get better slowly here and start to go in the right direction, go downhill a little bit, and start to become the team that we thought they could be, even if they get in with 9 wins, I think they could be dangerous in the AFC postseason.
I do too. Now, listen, they wouldn't be favored up in Buffalo. They wouldn't be favored against Kansas City. And this is even putting it almost too far down the road, but it's not a bad thought to complement at least what I'm thinking here. See, the difference, too, when you look at take the Giants from 2022. Like, the way their season ended, as great as the Minnesota game was, the way it ended against Philly, the disparity in talent, I don't even know what the spread was. I know it was high.
Right.
I mean, it was varsity versus JV.
Right.
And they had no shot to win that game, and they got pretty much eviscerated. To your point, if a lot of things happen, and now that the Jets look better, that's the first thing that had to happen to even tap into any other thing potentially happening, right? And whether, the Chargers start losing or there's injuries or whatever it might be. I think it's unrealistic or just unfair, incorrect to say that if the Jets were to get in, that the disparity, even against Kansas City in Arrowhead, I would give them a much better, and it's not a Jet-Giant thing, but a much better chance against them than I gave the Giants against Philly. The disparity's not nearly that wide.
Correct, and I'll give you a good example. I like that you just said that. Let's look at the Chargers. And now I love the Chargers because of Harbaugh, okay? And the Chargers do things fundamentally well, and they're learning whatever. Run the football. Herbert started to throw it a little bit last week. But I feel, or the Broncos, you want to throw that in. It's not just specific to one of those teams, but those teams that are playing well because they do the things that the Jets haven't done well this year, but don't have the talent that the Jets do to get them over the top or close that gap. So the Jets are the Steelers, another example. Steelers are very good, obviously defensively too, but there's an issue with the Steelers. There's a reason why people are like, I'm not so sure. They're very well coached. They do things the right way. They've built that foundation. But if the Steelers match up with the Chiefs, or the Ravens, maybe divisional, different thing. You're going to feel the disparity between the two teams. Like, you feel like they can only get that far. And I'm not trying to say that those teams are what the Giants were. I think those teams are better than what the Giants were. But point is, the Jets, if they can turn around and clean up some of those things, and that's where I think that they lack. Like, I do believe coaching and fundies and all that stuff has a big impact on this. But yeah, you're right. The talent disparity with Rodgers at quarterback, with the defense and the potential that they have, they can be closer than some of those other teams that are playing better as a team, but realistically don't have a chance to beat the Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't make this up. Now, some of us maybe got a little more excited than others, but we didn't make it up and give the Jets this roster. That was man, jeez. I mean, Vegas was in on it. A lot of people who cover the game for a living without a proclivity to root for a certain team. Like they're like, hey, Jets are good. Jets supposed to be good, and we felt it, and we certainly hoped it. Now there was always that fear because it's the Jets that something could go wrong and sabotage everything, and it did because they lost to teams they should have lost to, and really they lost because their kicker couldn't kick the freaking ball straight.
Yeah,
and yeah, you got to move past that. Yeah, they should have beat Denver. Yeah, they should have beat the Vikings. Yeah, they could have beat the Bills. It's over. Now, if we're sitting here today and we're saying that the Jets have to go 8-0 to get to 9 wins, which might get you in.
That's absurd.
We're not leading the show with this.
That's absurd.
It's absurd. If we're sitting here saying, hey, the Jets have to go 7-1 and they got a puncher's chance. No, we're not saying that. We're saying if the Jets go 6-2.
Which should be realistic.
Yes, if they can do that with a lot of winnable games. I'm looking at them at the Cardinals, home to the Colts, got a bye week, Seattle at home.
You want to do it?
Let's go.
Arizona.
They're going to win this game.
Colts.
They're going to definitely win that game.
Seahawks at home.
They're going to win that game.
At Miami.
See, this is now I got to inject a little reality into this.
You think they split with Miami?
Here's the thing, Sal. I'm, just on a human level, I'm happy that Tua is coming back and he's okay. From my football team's perspective, I kind of liked it when he wasn't playing.
Understood. Yeah, but still,
now they're
lost
different.
With him back.
I know.
But
I know.
Least,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The Dolphins with Tua are
at least a threat.
I think they're going to lose that game.
Okay.
I'm going to say I got to be somewhat
That's
realistic.
Fair. At Jacksonville,
win.
You have to. Home against the Rams.
Now I'm going to say win, but I also thought a week or two ago there was a chance that they would start selling off pieces. You heard maybe they're going to trade Stafford. Mm-hmm. That's not going to be as easy as I thought, but I'm going to say win.
At Buffalo,
loss.
Versus Miami.
Win, 6-2.
There you go.
I've already done the math, dude. I looked at this all night.
Right, and by the way, when we do this game, normally I'm sitting here saying, yeah, okay. You're like, 12-4, whatever.
Like everybody else in the world.
But this time, I don't think it's that.
Because they look... Yeah, go on, I'm sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, I felt that last night. Like, I'm not shocked that they won last night. The line was telling you, as you said before, it was a sucker's bet. Like, how could you not take the Texans? It was telling you the Jets would win that game. And it's also typical, just when everybody thinks they're finally finished losing to the Patriots, that's when they come back and get a win. I don't think it's unrealistic to go 6-2.
All right, we're going to get these calls, 888-808-1019, BT and Sal on the fan. It's not unrealistic. And I do think that, again, the optics and just the way it felt second half, not first half, second half, if the Jets would have won last night 7-3, I'm not so sure. Yeah, I mean, literally, it's the same path based on the record. But the fact that Rodgers even I know it got pulled back on that run. Rodgers looked flat out nimble at one point. Remember when he tucked it and ran up the middle and he gained a bunch of yards, got the first down? Like, I saw him put a little, like, he actually put his foot in the ground. I mean, not like a running back, but he did something I haven't seen him do as a Jet. So there are, like, they looked a little dangerous, and the talent finally rose to the surface, which gives me hope.
Here's the biggest difference. If this were a team with Zach Wilson being the quarterback, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Because, like, we always say, well, how have they gotten worse with Rodgers this year versus Zach? Yeah. This is the difference. Even though the record may not be as good, because of Rodgers, it gives us reason to believe that they actually can go 6-2 down the stretch.
3 touchdown passes.
He looked good.
Yep,
He did,
finally.
The first half, BT and Sal on the fan, our friends at Town Fair Tire. Remind you that at Town Fair Tire, you always get the guaranteed lowest price on name brand tires from Connecticut to Maine. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody. Charlie's in Bethpage. What's up, Charlie?
Hey, BT and Sal, how are you?
Great. What's up?
Hello, Charlie.
Listen, they're doing it again. They suck us in. They do this. They get another win. I'm pumped. But the reality is that first half made me sick last night. It just made me sick. When your punter is your MVP in your first half, you're in bad shape, bro. You're in bad shape. And Corley, I swear to God, I hope they took bars of soap and towels and beat him in the shower last night.
Come on, man.
I mean, that was ridiculous, dropping that ball before the goal line. Come on. It's a privilege to be an NFL wide receiver.
All right.
And
you
get
made a mistake, Charlie.
I'm with you. Thanks for the call, Charlie. That's an unacceptable mistake. It's just unacceptable.
100%. But
I would have had him.
Beat him in the shower?
No, but I would have had him take his uniform off and go sit on the bench the rest of the game. You can't. I don't understand how that continues to happen in the NFL. How does that continue to happen? You can't do it.
I don't know.
These knucklehead players. What is the if I were coaching a team, I would say if you let go of that football before you get to the sideline after a touchdown, you're gone. Hold on to the football. Hold on to it. Bring it to me directly. You are to cross the plane of the end zone and bring it to me. That is unacceptable.
Listen, it's born out of selfishness, and it's born out of a look-at-me culture. We all know.
He made a great play, and he does that.
That was a great play. He's very rarely on the field, too. I felt badly for the young man.
Yeah, the initial thought is, how could they not use this guy more? He's a burner.
And remember, his nickname in college was the Yak King. When he was drafted, I believe he was third round, maybe fourth, but I think it was third. I liked the draft choice, and I'll tell you what, I'm not defending. It's indefensible. But I think because, when you're the Yak King, even if it's college, that means you're playing the game hard.
Yep.
When you have more yak yards than anybody in the history of football, college football, you are banging off people, and you're not quitting, and you're plowing through, and you are playing hard. You're a gamer. I think, and I loved, and listen, Ulbricht's not going to be the coach next year unless what we're saying could happen actually does.
Yeah.
When he was interviewed, he said, listen, the young man owes us one. And he's going to get us one. He very easily could have been. You put him out there for the first play. And I think the only reason why he did that was because Corley has great practice habits, and he's got a reputation from college and what he's brought to the building. I know he hasn't played much, but I think that they respect the way he plays, and they were smart enough to realize it was a dumb mistake by a kid who's 21 years old.
How do you explain that?
You don't, and it's not an excuse. It's unforgivable. I get it. Now, there's other receivers that might happen a second time with. I will bet the house with that young man, that's never happening again.
It should never happen, period. Ben is calling from Syosset. What's up, Ben?
What's up, BT and Sal? Happy Victory Friday.
Yeah,
let's go,
they're
baby.
rare around here in the NFL with two teams. Go ahead.
Can we talk about how good? I mean, first of all, we just beat a great football team in the Texans. I know
They're
they
not
were
great.
banged
Now,
up.
stop. They're not. I don't
We
even know
beat a good
if they're even
football
really
team.
good.
Yeah.
How good did this defensive line finally look with Reddick, McDonald, and Quinton Williams now all together?
Yep.
We had Stroud. Stroud had nowhere to go all day.
Mm-hmm.
And then also on the Corley topic, that was the best offensive play we've ran in 3 years under Hackett, most creative. I know we dropped the ball. Hopefully it doesn't happen again, but I'm just glad we finally got a W.
It was nice. Now, listen, thanks for the call there, Ben. Appreciate it. They're not a great team, and the reasons for that, I like Stroud a lot, but Nico Collins is out, and obviously Diggs is out for the season, so they were a little one-dimensional, fairly predictable. They ran the ball down the Jets' throat most of the night, and with Mixon, that's going to be a problem whenever the Jets play teams that really run because they're vulnerable there. But the Texans' O-line, I gave you the stat to start the show. Nobody's given up more sacks, and they're tied for first in pressures allowed. So the Jets' front had a great night, but Laramie Tunsil has 13 penalties going into the game. It's week 8, 13. Hey, I'm the one leading the charge. A fun night, good win.
Yeah.
There's a little teeny weeny path to maybe 9 or 10 wins to get that last wild card spot. Again, I'm leaning into it, but for people who think the Texans are anything more than slightly above average, they're not. The Texans aren't that good.
BT and Sal on the fan. We'll come back. More of your calls, 888-808-1019. As our last caller said, Ben, Victory Friday here on the fan. We'll look ahead to the Giants as well. We have Giants tickets to give away, too, so stay tuned for that. And we still have a lot to get to with the Yankees.
Oof, there were some embarrassing, revealing stories about how the Yankees operate that came to light that actually, believe it or not, makes it feel worse than a lot of us already thought that it is or was. All right,